Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka the Honky Tonk Hair Machine for the Rugged Revival Podcast. Who am I with today?
Mike West.
Mike West. Thanks for sitting down with me, man. I appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for making the time, man.
So, I like to start off our conversation with this first question. I feel like it gives us a little peek behind the curtain of who you are. So, if you don't mind, just give us a quick peek and tell us where are you from and what was life like for you as a kid?
Yeah, so I'm from Wirral, England, which no one knows or cares about. It's just over the River Mersey from Liverpool, which made famous by a four-piece back in the 60s called Beatles. Um, and I have a song called Rock Ferry. It's not the Duffy song that went popular in the UK a while back, but it's about I went to schools called Rock Ferry Primary, and then I went to Rock Ferry High School. And I was lucky as a kid. Like, my parents worked hard and we didn't really want for anything, but we were still in like a deprived area and the school was deprived. And then growing my hair out and becoming a bit alternative and a mosher really fucking put a target. Can we swear? Sorry.
You'll be all right.
Cool. Really put a target on mine and my friends' backs. And then it was a really weird kind of time in that area growing up as a kid to kind of forge your own identity and deal with kind of mainstream culture not accepting who you are. We got a lot of knives pulled on us, which was a really weird thing to be in, like, a relatively not like a terrible area, not a terrible situation and stuff, but still have that kind of weird thing going on. And I put it all into, like, I was listening to a lot of Woody Guthrie when I wrote my song Rock Ferry, and I wanted to try and do that folk-esque, relay a picture of where it is. And, the opening line is, I'm not ashamed of where I'm from, but I'm not exactly proud. And I think that's kind of, especially, at our age, you kind of saw the 90s where it was shit, but it was still on the up in a way. And now I'm, 35 and you see it's kind of gone downhill more somehow. And it's kind of like a really weird thing to like grapple with and see people still struggling with the same issues you did back in the day. But, I'm thankful for going to that school and those experiences because I still have, my best friends from high school. I met my wife when we were 12 in music class in Rocky High, and she brought a Satyricon CD in. And, I knew that was the girl I was going to marry.
That's
And
right.
so, it's not all bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would describe that as kind of like here in the States, that's pretty standard middle class,
Yeah.
Like we I'm just like you, my folks were, military, so they were, middle class people, and I wouldn't say we went without, but like, we weren't, top of the rung. And where I live just outside of Washington DC, you have this, huge disparity between like people that really have everything, and there's people that are, well, as of now, still getting by. But we're not getting paid vacations, we're not getting paid time off. And I remember also being that kid with big mohawk and leather jacket and that kind of thing. And it wasn't until we started fighting with other rival punk gangs, like out of the Richmond scene here, where people would pull knives on each other. Thankfully, no handguns. That would have been a real game changer. But yeah. So you started off, pretty young, getting into the music, into the scene. When did you start playing the guitar?
So I started playing the guitar again around like when I was like 12. I'd seen Ace Frehley. He's like my main influence in guitar god, and I saw him on my dad brought him like a Kiss My Ass VHS, like a live video, and it just fucking blew my mind. And then, I immediately picked up an electric guitar and started trying to do that. And at the same time, learning like Nirvana and Metallica and all the early like staple metal bands that you kind of grow up with. So yeah, I've been playing guitar for 24 years now. I can't say I've improved greatly, but I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's too bad that the version of Kiss that kids know today is, Gene Simmons supporting the MAGA movement and whatever. And, I don't like to get too political on here, but, when you look back and you hear the Love Gun intro, the dual guitars of Detroit Rock City, Cold Gin. I mean, I also grew up in elementary school, huge Kiss fan, especially Ace. I think he was like, the guy. And
Yeah, man.
terrible loss. That was a
Yeah,
terrible.
last year.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah, yeah, that was heavy, man. Because I remember before I saw that video, like my parents' record collection, my dad had Destroyer on record, and that's the thing, man. Like, it's hard when you realize these are real people because you see them as kids and they're superheroes and they're
Yep.
flying around. The guitars are smoking, the drum kit's flying, and yeah, we were in band practice, and my drummer Brian is a massive Kiss fan. He's in his 60s. He's seen everybody. He saw Kiss on their first UK tour. He's met a bunch of them a bunch of times. I'd met Ace back in 2009. And as we were wrapping up band practice, we got like a Facebook notification that Ace Frehley had been hospitalized. And we were like, holy shit. And then, he like it was just crazy, man, to lose Ozzy and Ace in the same year is like two of like my biggest kind of metal icons growing up as a kid. It was a wild one, and that's the hard thing, I guess, about growing up and growing old is seeing all your heroes kind of pass. And
Yeah.
it's hard. And again, like not to again massively get political, but all the people come out and go, well, they were this, they were that. It's like, well, I was 11 when I first saw the man. He was a superhero. He was a god to me. I
Yep.
didn't know he was going to I didn't know Twitter was going to exist and every celebrity was going to lose their damn mind on it. I didn't know those type of things were going to happen. I just really loved the music that they put out. And yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, being a Kiss fan, you had the comic books, the action
yeah,
figures. You were really immersed in a world that was
mhm.
much bigger than just, the music itself.
Yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah, I have just a side note. I have the Kiss comic. Do you know the first one that was printed with their blood?
oh yeah.
I have that magazine. I have it signed by Stan Lee from when I met him way back
Oh,
when,
that's
and I
cool.
was I was always hoping to get the rest of the band and Ace to sign it. But obviously, that's not going to happen now. But it still sits on my shelf, and yeah, man. And I
Yeah.
hope people can discover Kiss as they were back in the 70s because
Mm.
with how social media is now, you don't realize how non-dangerous bands are. You have kind of like Sleep Token and stuff like that popping up now, but to have those type of artists back in the day with the mystique they had and the energy they had was just unparalleled, man. It was so fucking cool.
Well, and I think that's a lot of in today's world, we're expected to be so super accessible.
Yeah.
And, I think that's, and I've actually mentioned this a number of times on this show, is I think one of the people that's done the social media the best way, where it's just, here's my music, here's where we're touring, here's what we're doing, is actually Glenn Danzig. I
Yeah.
think his social media, he's in old interviews, you can always find old dirt on people, but like, I think he pretty much keeps it hush hush. He's like, look, here's, think what you want of him, but
Mm.
here's what we've got going on. Here's my art.
Yeah.
And I think, for me personally, music is political, art is political, and it is
Hmm.
very important. But I think as far as like not um not alienating any one particular group, he's like, look, man, you can read between the lines of my lyrics. You can read between the lines. I mean, similar to like George Romero, right? I'm a huge Romero
Yeah.
fan. Um, all of his movies, especially that first trilogy of zombies
Mm.
movies, it is a comment on social commentary, political stuff. And he's
Yeah.
like, look, you gotta ingest this art, read between the lines, take away from it what you can. And that's, I think, some of these guys that are able to do that with social media in today's world is actually a huge flex. And it's really cool. I think even your page is great. You've got, here's what we're doing, here's a little peek behind the curtain with us and the fam. But other than that, it's
Mm.
like, here's my music. If you want to know where I stand, listen, put on the
Yeah.
record.
Yeah. And that's like the funny thing. Like my friend and country singer Josh Bettis always talks about like I made half the crowd walk out of a show once because I just started ranting about like what our government was doing at the time. And I will. But the thing I need the majority of the facts. I need to be like 98% certain that, I'm ready to have an argument about this. I can't go in and say like, oh, well, I don't actually know all the facts. So I have a song called Nuke Song and I, really believe in the campaign for nuclear disarmament and I follow the CND and I kind of try and stay on top of that. So I feel when I sing that song and I talk about it on stage, I think that was why I was writing about Theresa May, the prime minister at the time, did something stupid around that. And I, went into a bit of a rant about it. And a lot of the guys walked off. But that was kind of, I don't care if no one listens to my music based off of a belief that I've shared and stuff. But I want to be 100% certain that I got my feet planted where I need to be when I make those stands and those arguments.
Right. Right. Or you can just be like Guar and just say, we're here to eat everyone.
Yeah.
We're here to destroy everything and everyone. So it doesn't matter what side you're on. So when did you start taking your original music on the road or even playing it live?
Yeah. So this I've been doing 10 years this September, which has been interesting. Like I was in a few thrash bands and stuff when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, which was fun. And then they, as bands always do, they kind of disintegrate and fall apart. So
Yeah.
I started playing this, you know, acoustic country stuff in 2016, and it just kind of snowballed from there, which has been really fun. And it's crazy to think about, like, it's been 10 years now, and I see kind of my old profile pictures and old photos pop up. And I'm like, shit, it's been a while now, man. I've got gray in my beard.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
And if you still do Facebook, they like to hit you with those Facebook memories too. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go through mine every day and I delete all the last 5 years of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to self edit just in case you kick it and then someone can pull up a post from, 20 years ago where you said something stupid.
Yeah. You're like, oh, never mind. You were 16. Who cares? Right.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot going on when it comes to bringing your particular music live. Really, there's like no wall of distortion to hide behind.
No.
It's you, an acoustic. Sometimes you've got some bandmates with you. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a solo artist playing live?
Well, the live album we've just released is called Breaking Strings because I snap a fucking string every show. And that's been the most kind of irritating thing. Like I play with quite heavy gauge picks. And I'm not going to change because I don't want to, but I have to take like 2 or 3 guitars with me just to make sure that I can get it to the set. But the biggest challenges has been definitely bringing the band in because, I was solo if I started in 2016, when did I meet Rob? I think me and Rob started playing, Rob's my fiddle player, in like 2020. So I did like nearly 5 years on my own. Brought Robin, and the good thing with a fiddle player is he kind of dances on top of the guitar and the vocals. So again, you don't need to be super strict on like the timings and playing to a click and knowing what you're doing. But then we brought a drummer in, and I was like, oh shit, I actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing now. I can't let a note ring too long. I can't kind of take my time and then rush. And it was very interesting to kind of bring a drummer and a bassist in live, and that's been the biggest challenge. Like, and I always say before we go on stage, I'm talking to anyone, if there's gonna be a mistake live, it's me. Everyone else in the band is, an incredible talent. They've been doing it for decades. I will be the one that fucks up, and I'm like, that's where I'm at with it. But the thing I love about playing live is you have to be so present in it. I imagine it's the same thing as like any creative thing, or hairdressing to relate to where you have to be, and you can't be thinking about what you're going to be having for lunch. You can't be thinking about the haircut, 3 hours ahead. You have to be in the moment of it, because if you aren't, that's when you kind of fuck up and you make a mistake. And it's like what I do with music is I can catch myself if I start thinking about down the line or think about what I'm going to do when I get home and the list of shit I have to do. I can immediately tell I'm about to start making a mistake. So it's really that thing of staying present is the biggest challenge, but it's the biggest reward because it's what we do it for. Like live music and getting to play in front of folks is, a privilege, and it's just a really cool thing to do. So the challenges are trying not to fuck up live and remembering to stay present enough to not fuck up live.
It's a very real thing though, man. Like, I still play in bands now. And in fact, I'll add you for my band page later. Is just, especially, we're so divided, right? Like you've got kids, you've got the job, you've got the what's happening live, and you're trying so hard to stay present, but we can't control our brain. We have these thoughts that just kind of flow through, and you could be in the middle just riffing it out, and all of a sudden you're like, remember that time I tied my shoe and I kneeled down and I tripped in the 3rd grade? And you're like,
yeah,
why am I thinking of that right now? I'm in the middle of a gig, and this is and then suddenly you forget your own song that you wrote, top to bottom, the lyrics. It's the craziest thing, man. You really do have to almost be zen about it and just like lock in so hard. And honestly, like I've even caught myself at the behind the barber chair, person's talking, and I'm gone. Or the other way, it'll be dead silent. And in my head, I'm having a conversation with myself. And you're like, oh, you didn't get any of that. You weren't you weren't in my head, so you have to
Yeah.
like pull it back and try and be present.
Yeah.
So
And
you've
that's like
mentioned no, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and that's like the weird thing. Like if you forget a song and if you try to think about it, you just can't find it, and you have to like rely on the muscle memory to come back, and that's how you
Yeah.
realize how baked into your personality and like your mind it is. That like if you actually do try to concentrate on those things and truly
Yep.
analyze what you do, and you just can't remember. So the second you forget a song, and then you just have to close your eyes, go into that Zen state, and it'll come back to you eventually. But yeah, you can't kind of
Yeah.
stress or think about like 10 other things at the same time.
Yeah, it's like having to be like a master of departmentalization. You're
Yeah.
like, look, man, I'm on this stage for 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, I can answer whatever phone call, text,
Yeah.
kid thing, job thing, whatever it may be. But for that 30 minutes, let me get this done. I remember years ago, um, when my wife and I first got together, we had just moved into a house up the road here, and our bulldog got dog napped. And I had a gig that night, and I'm on stage. I couldn't think of anything else. Like,
No.
I knew I was way out of tune. I wasn't even singing the songs. I remember literally just putting down the guitar and running off to go find my
Yeah.
then missing bulldog. But it's like, world life is still gonna do what it does, and
Yeah,
life is
man.
gonna life, and that's at times that's incredibly challenging. But yeah, you got to be locked in, as the kids say. So you've mentioned a good number of influences already. We got Kiss, we got Satyricon, um, you've got Woody Guthrie. Who
Yeah.
would you say today are some of your biggest musical country and non-country influences today?
So I've been really diving back onto like Buck Owens' catalog.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think what because I've been doing this for 10 years now, and even with like the podcast I do and stuff, is sometimes you start seeing it as a job and a chore, and you forget that there's meant to be like a joy to it, and you forget that you're meant to be, for all intents and purposes, an entertainer.
Hmm.
And you get super serious and bogged down in kind of the mythos of it all. And what listening to Buck and listening to like the Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast about Buck Owens has kind of reminded me is like, you have to entertain, man. You have to kind of be there for people in what they need you to be. It can't be, you stand up there and do your super serious songs and then expect them to relate in a way that like you need them to. They need to relate in the way that they need to. And that was one of the things that listening to a lot of Buck Owens has been really kind of good about reminding. It's like, oh shit, this is meant to be fun, man. And it was the same thing after Ace died. Like, I hadn't played my electric guitar in ages, but after Ace died, I plugged it in, got my electric guitar out, and just ripped through a load of old Kiss songs. And I'd text my mate being like, oh, I'm having fun playing guitar for the first time in like 7 years.
Yeah.
So, like, Buck Owens has been a massive influence, like, currently. A lot of kind of whilst I've been mainly kind of exploring cryptids, I've been reading a lot of like fantasy books. Me and my friend started like a bit of a book club going through like Brandon Sanderson books. So I was reading those and I'm writing a book currently. So that's been a thing I've been trying to do and just kind of absorbing influences that aren't music, which has been like an interesting thing. Like I've got a song
Yes.
inspired by Walt Whitman.
Uh-huh.
So Walt Whitman's poetry has been kind of important to me. And then there's a comedian slash poet from the UK called Rob Orton. And his stuff is really kind of absurd and surrealist, but grounded in a very interesting way. Um, one of his really stupid kind of lines was like, "Where does the sky stop?"
Mm.
He's like, "What's?" And he
Mhm.
waves his hand in front of his face, and he's like, "What's this bit?" And
Mhm.
just like viewing stuff like that has been really interesting and kind of how to be that as a songwriter and what I don't want to do. Obviously, I have a song called like Mothman. I have a song called like How to Build a Guillotine. So I try and
Mm.
deal with sometimes absurd and surrealist topics and try and fit them into a country song, which has been an interesting thing to kind of try and reckon with. But I've been listening to Buck Owens has been kind of the biggest one. I've been going back on the Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast because I want to kind of get that depth. Henson Cargill, I don't know if you know his
Sure.
stuff. He did Skip a Rope back in the 70s. He never really broke through, but he did a song called Going Backwards. And the opening line is talking about like tech billionaires trying to get in space while people are starving. And this was written 50 years ago. So I've
Yep.
been listening to like a lot of Henson Cargill. I've just picked up his. They did a repress of one of his LPs, so I've picked up that. And then Behemoth and
Yeah.
that type of stuff, and listening to
Mhm.
more of the heavier side of metal. But then also, I really love him. There's a British rapper called Akala who's
Okay.
like conscious hip hop, and he talks about kind of modern issues and protests in the UK, and it's not kind of guns and bling rap. It's like really important educational rap that makes you think about stuff and makes you want to stand for stuff. And
Hmm.
that's what I've kind of had swirling around a lot, and that's what I try and bounce from, so I don't get kind of too stuck in my ways of what I'm kind of doing in a roundabout long way. That's what I've been listening to a lot of.
Yeah, I think you have to have a wide array of things, especially as a songwriter. You have to have a wide array of influences to
Mm,
build this puzzle, right? You're building a
yeah.
puzzle. Like one of my friends, Mike, he sings for a band called Tombs out of New York. If you don't know him, I'll send you a link.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
he's the one that got me onto Towns Van Zandt a few years ago. I had never even heard of Towns Van Zandt, and his band is a black metal band from New York, and he's like, it's dark, it's grim, it's sad. This is what we want for our music, so they pull that into that. I think it's like you got to have this, and then at the end of the day, it all connects, man. It's like somehow it bridges together. But you touched on something. You said singing these really sad songs and still expecting the crowd to be engaging. There's one artist, I don't know if you're familiar with him, BJ Barham from American
Yeah,
Aquarium. So he does a fantastic solo set where he'll sing these incredibly sad songs, but then I mean, it is a roller coaster of emotions. And he'll tell you these stories in between the songs, and all of a sudden you're pulled back in and engaged, and he's making you laugh, but he was just literally making
yeah,
you cry, 5
yeah.
seconds ago. It's really cool. If you haven't had a chance to check him out live yet, he might have a set on YouTube or something.
Yeah, man, I've seen Americana a couple of times. We were meant to play a festival together in October before it pulled. But the thing that I like about BJ, and I don't know if you know Amigo the Devil,
Oh yeah.
but seeing those guys live, if you are trying to push the sad song stuff, you need the stories, you need the kind of the peek behind the veil to push people. And that's why I learned from touring with Amigo the Devil was you can't just do the sad song. You need to kind of set it up. Like I have a song called No Grave, and I
Mhm.
kind of preempt that because like I say, like, I don't believe in cemeteries. And it's like I know they exist. I'm not like denying that they're there, but I don't see the point in them. And sometimes people laugh, and I'm like, I don't want to go to a field and stand over a stone that I have no bearing to. That person has no relation to that rock. It's like when I want to remember my granddad, I remember him teaching me to tie my shoes as I'm tying my shoes. If I want to remember a friend I've lost, I'll put on their favorite film, I'll put on their favorite record. And I say this on stage kind of because then people lock in and people connect with that story and they see themselves and they remember the people they've lost and how they remember them. So there's ways to do sad songs and make it kind of captivating in that way. But there's a line in an American Aquarium song, um, is it One Day at a Time, where it's like the line is to like we stand on stage and watch another man bleed. And if you want to do the sad songs and you want to do the sad set, you have to bleed. You can't just do the sad song with no kind of talking in between. If you
Mhm.
want people to connect, you are going to have to kind of show some red. And I think that's the thing that sometimes people don't expect or remember to. It's like you have to be as honest with those people as you need to for them to be honest with you. And
Mhm.
that's the thing that I found from watching kind of BJ and Danny and Amigo the Devil is, you have to bleed in front of them if you are doing that type of show.
Mhm. Another person that's really good at that, and I'm sure you know him, is Nate Bergman.
Yeah.
Nate had us all on our hands and knees, bawling our eyes out here in DC last summer, and it's like an abusive relationship. And then he'll start talking in between songs, and we're all laughing
Yeah.
and carrying on. But then he's like, "Oh well, hold on, here's another A minor," and you're just like, "Oh." Yeah, but I love that. I think that's so great because it's reminding you you're at a show, but then also like, "Hey man, this is the type of show you're
Yeah.
at." And I think you and I could even do a part two of this episode where we just do all things black metal and doom and
Yeah,
pull it
man.
all together. So maybe down the
Yeah.
line we'll do that. But to kind of bring it all back, what I really appreciate your style too is that you keep it real. You have like a real street level accessible style. You still look like kind of goth country, but you're still very metal. You're still very you. You've got your
Mm.
jacket with the studs, you've got your badges on, and but you're going up there and you're playing, what I would describe as kind of like folk country kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Do you tend to have like a particular like wardrobe that you like to wear on stage?
Yeah, so that was, the patch jacket I wear now, which is like the denim vest. I
Hmm.
started wearing that when I put that together, I think around COVID, because I was thinking about those type of things. Because I remember there's like that Lemmy quote where it's like no one wants to watch a guy off the street play. They want to see a thing. And
Uh,
obviously, if anyone else other than Lemmy dressed like Lemmy, you'd think he was a prick.
yeah.
But he just was able to pull it off. So obviously, I can't dress like Lemmy. I don't have the legs to dress like Bowie. And like, I was just kind of getting up in what I wore to get to the show, which was, jeans, which I still wear, a t-shirt, and then just like a flannel shirt over it. And I was like, I need to do something that has a bit.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm a Kiss fan. I'm not going to go that extreme, but I needed something. And I was like, well, like, I'm still into metal. I still have that kind of culture and that interest. And I was like, if I can do hat jacket, and someone actually, because I was selling tote bags for my first record, and he cut the tote bag and made that as a back patch.
Oh, that's
And he
cool.
sent and he sent me that. I was like, "Holy fuck, that's a really cool idea!" So I just copied him. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rickard, from the Netherlands. Uh, and like, I was like, "Oh shit, that's really cool." So I could put that on the back, and then I was like, "Well, what? How do I kind of do that?" And I was like, "I'm going to split it. So one half is kind of my metal and punk band influences, and then the other half is my country stuff." So I've got on one side, I've got Dead Kennedys, Black Sabbath, Linkin Park, Judas Priest, Clutch, and then on the other side, I've got John Prine, Towns Van Zandt, Sturgill Simpson, a Billy Joe Spears patch someone sent me, which was awesome. Johnny Cash, Amigo the Devil gave me a patch, and it was that type of thing. And then because I have a mushroom belt buckle, because mushrooms are fun. I had a mushroom belt buckle, and you could buy like the collar tips. I was like, oh, well, that's going on a patch, like a jacket as well. But then one of them broke. So for my birthday last year, my wife got me like space ones, because my kid's massively into space. So then it's taken on a different meaning as well. So I get to take his stuff with me on stage. And it was that thing where, you know, that combined with the tattoos and the long hair and the beard just is kind of what it is. And it's one of those things where I don't know how I can take it further. Like I used to wear, like I love Doc Marten boots, but the modern versions now are shit and fall apart super easy. So I stopped wearing them. I just wear kind of MTE Vans, and I try and get different colored ones of them. So it's got a bit of a pop to something. But I thought I had to think about the style. And I think, I don't have the head to pull off hats. And I wish I did. And I know a lot of people like you are rocking that hat now. And I know a few different people who wear kind of cowboy hats and cowboy boots. And I thought for me and my background and where I was coming from, it would look insincere and it would fall into the cosplay category. So I've stayed away from that as much as I can, just because I can't afford a decent looking hat. So I'll just look like a fucking Hindu stripper if I just buy like a cheap one.
Well, the
And
difference is you've got a great head of hair. For
yeah,
me, we've
for
got,
now.
we're working with what we got here. So you can either, I think you've either got the hair, the thick
Mm,
locks, or you've got,
yeah.
we
Well,
got to
that's the
have
thing.
something going on.
I'm worried about losing my hair now. So I'm going to be like you, man. I'm going to get my head tattooed when it eventually starts going. But again, with the tattoos, it's a weird thing. I got a review. I opened for Whitney Rose in Manchester, and Americana UK wrote a review about me, and the first kind of paragraph was just describing how I looked. And it's not until you see it written down that you realize how you look. Because for me, it's just, I look like this every day. But
Yeah.
he wrote like, long haired, heavy metal biker covered in tattoos. I'm like I'm 6'2", so it's not like I stand out. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
oh like I realized kind of, this is a look,
Yep.
whether intentional or not. So I've kind of tried to lean into it. I've been getting more of my tattoos done, but that's, not stage where I can't write it off as expenses. but it is like that combined with, and one of the things I do try and do is I try and wear like an independent band t-shirt when I'm playing. So I'll
Yeah, that's
try
cool.
and wear like I don't want to like wear like a Judas Priest or a Dolly Parton t-shirt, although I have done. But I try and wear either my friends' bands or like an up and coming band or an independent band, just because I think it's like a nice little nod, even if you
Mhm.
can't fully see it through the design, like the guitar and jacket. But I like to try and wear an independent t-shirt when I'm playing, and I have, which mostly forget to wear now because it's hanging up. I have a medallion that I got from Rome at the Saint Cecilia Church, which is the patron saint of music. So I got that pendant, which was only like €2 or €3, and I wear that as much as I can remember to do, and try and remember to wear that. So that's as far as I really try and think about how I want to present myself. And I do try and think about it, but again, it's like, where do you stop? Because then is it going to be the corpse paint? Is it going to be the platform boots? And I don't want to lose focus of the music, and I also don't want to wear anything that inhibits me from like moving around too much.
Right.
And I end up just like eating shit over a cable or something.
Which I've done plenty of.
Yeah.
I've fallen off of plenty of stages, but I think what you're touching on is authenticity. You
Hmm.
know, and when I look at you, I don't think, oh, he's cosplaying or he just fell and tripped into a hot topic or anything like that. Like it does feel genuine, and I think subculturally, I think a lot of people forget that, this music is still outlaw. And with
Hmm.
outlaw, you have like the biker culture, the metal culture. It's the freaks and geeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna look like a 6'2" biker with your acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's just it is what it is. But so like I said, we like to keep these things kind of short and sweet, and I know it's later on your side. But where can we find you on social media?
Yeah. So you can find me at Mike333 West on all platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Uh, I'm not really on Twitter/X anymore because it's just a garbage platform. It's just so much anger all the time. Last time I was on that, because they don't have like filters on videos anymore, I saw someone's face get cut in half by an ice skate.
Oh
And I
wow.
saw that. I was like, I'm out, man. I don't need any of this shit in my fucking life. So I'm not on Twitter anymore. TikTok. I'm on Bandcamp, so it's just Mike333 West. If you go to Mike333West.com, I'm there. I'm on Spotify. I'm on all the streaming platforms. So, wherever you are, I'm at.
Well, hopefully you don't come across any more slice and dice videos. But look, we're going to end you here. I appreciate your time. I really do. Just stay on the line with me for one hot second, but we'll say later, man.
No worries, man. Lovely to chat.